Hey there, it's Amy from thecrazycraftlady.com. There's still plenty of winter left, so today I'm sharing 3 new snowman crafts that all start with supplies from the dollar store. For this craft, you will want to start with a bamboo cutting board from Dollar Tree. You could easily just use a piece of scrap wood, but I've been wanting to play around with these bamboo cutting boards for a while, so this was my chance to do it. First thing I did was just apply a light base coat of black chalk paint. This is DecoArt home decor chalk paint, but any type of black chalk paint or even black acrylic craft paint would work. And I didn't want to do full coverage, so I just kind of used a dry brush technique. So just dip a 1-inch flat paintbrush in the paint, then kind of dab off the excess and use very light brush strokes. And you're going to cover most of the center, so what really matters is that the edge parts have the paint coverage or the finish that you really want. And then also paint all the way around the edges of your little wooden cutting board or your scrap wood or whatever you're painting on. And then once that is dried, I used a piece of scrapbook paper that had music print on it, or if you have like an old hymnal or sheet music that you want to upcycle, have at it. I just kind of creased the paper with the edge of the cutting board and then ripped the paper so I had kind of a straight edge. I didn't want to cut it though because I didn't want it to be perfectly, like a perfectly straight edge. I wanted it ripped on all 4 edges to look a little bit more distressed. So I just ripped that paper down to size on all 4 sides and kind of around the edges so that it was about a 1/2 inch smaller than the cutting board in all directions. From there, I grabbed some matte Mod Podge. I like using matte on these projects. And I applied a nice even coat all over the front of that cutting board and then just smoothed down my piece of sheet music scrap paper right on top, smooth out any bubbles. This is a small project, so I was just able to smooth everything out with my fingertips, and I kind of let that dry for maybe 15-20 minutes and then came back and sealed the whole thing again with another solid coat of matte Mod Podge. But before I let that dry, I actually pulled out some silver glitter. And I very rarely use glitter. It's just not my jam, too messy. But for this, I thought it would look really cute to have just a glitter border on this sign, just for something a little different. And then I cleaned up my work surface. I recently ordered this little miniature desktop vacuum off Amazon, and it's been super handy cleaning up my work surface when I'm working with messy things like glitter. So I will link to that below. And then I grabbed a bunch of these little half wood balls. I also ordered these on Amazon and we'll link to them below. I've used them on a ton of projects. They're super fun to work with. And then I just did that same dry brush technique with a smaller flat paintbrush and left a little bit of that wood grain poking through. In all honesty, if I had to do this project over again, I would probably use even less black paint so that it looked even more weathered and more of that wood grain was poking through. These ended up being a little darker than I would have liked. But once all that paint was dry, I then just dry fit my little half wood balls onto the sign once the Mod Podge had dried. And I always like to dry fit these first just to get the spacing right. And then I use wood glue with a fine point paintbrush. So I like using wood glue because it gives me a little bit more wiggle room, a little bit more work time than if I was using hot glue because it takes a minute to dry. So I'm able to kind of, even though I've dry fit everything in place, I can then set the wood beads in place and then kind of move them around until I get the exact spacing that I like. But there was my little snowman shape, and then to finish it off, I just embellished with some baker's twine and some floral wire that's like covered in brown craft paper. You could use any type of ribbon or twine, whatever works. I just kind of paired these two together. That baker's twine has a little bit of silver floss running through it, so it kind of pairs well with the glitter. Wrap that around a few times and then secure it in the back with hot glue. And then I also added a little bow at the snowman's neck just for a little bit more embellishment, but that was it. For Valentine's Day, Dollar Tree has these little Gumball machine cardboard cutouts, but we're going to turn it into a snowman. So you'll want to start with one of these faux tin tile adhesives. They come in a silver color, but I had one that was painted white from a previous craft project. So I'm just going to skip that step and go right on to step 2, and we're going to trace out the Gumball machine onto the faux tin tile. So just grab a Sharpie there. Trace all the way around the edges and then grab a pair of craft scissors and cut it out. So because I had already pre-painted this tile piece white, it was really important to cut inside that Sharpie line. One, that's going to give you the most accurate fit on top of the cardboard cutout, and two, you don't want Sharpie showing on the edge of your finished project. And then once that was completely cut out, I just glued it right onto the surface of the cardboard cutout. I used some dollar store brand E6000 glue. You could use Eileen's Tacky Glue if you don't want to use E6000. I just probably would not use hot glue because depending on the temperature of your hot glue gun, you might end up melting the tin tile piece as you smooth it down on the project. And let that glue dry, and then I grabbed a jumbo, a super jumbo wooden popsicle craft stick, and I used my miter shears from Amazon, and I cut it down to length. So this is going to be, you'll notice the Gumball machine is now upside down, and you want to cut a middle piece out of that craft stick because this is now going to form the brim of the snowman's hat. And so once I had those two pieces cut down to the right length, there's my little brim. And then I just pulled out some DecoArt home decor chalk paint. This is a gray color called Maui Sand, and a little tiny piece of a dish sponge. So you could use a dry brush paintbrush technique. I've just really been enjoying using the sponges when I do a distress paint technique. So just paint both popsicle stick pieces gray, and then it's time to distress the tin tile piece. You'll want to do heavier coverage on the top half where the hat is, and then a lighter distressing on the bottom half where the snowman face is. But go ahead and add as much or as little of that gray chalk paint as you like. Just remember to make a clear kind of line between the two sections so that when you put that popsicle stick brim on, it makes a clear division. I hope that makes sense. But I just distressed everything and then hot glued the craft stick right back onto the snowman. And then from there, it was time to make the face. So I'll speed this up considerably, but I just took a pencil and I kind of outlined 2 eyes, a carrot nose, and a mouth. And then just filled in with a fine point paintbrush and some chalk paint. So black chalk paint for the eyes. And then I used a combination of 2 different shades of orange chalk paint. I'll have to list them below because I don't remember them off the top of my head, but they're more, one's brighter orange and one is more of a coral color, just to kind of mute that bright orange down a little bit. And then I also, for the nose, instead of just painting a triangle, I painted a series of connected ovals. And I also didn't completely blend my 2 paint colors because I felt that would give my carrot a little bit more dimension. And then I should have done this while I was painting my craft stick, but I also painted that bottom little heart. You'll remember that was the top of the Gumball machine. I just painted that gray so it would blend in with the ribbon that I'm going to put at the snowman's neck. So I just did a figure 8, 2 loops, crisscross tie them in a bow, and then hot glued that bow right into place. And then here's my finished little snowman. I think this would be a great addition to a winter wreath. So if you have a plain boxwood or any type of solid green wreath, you could pop this right in for a quick and easy winter wreath project. For this craft, you'll want to grab 2 wooden craft hoops from the crafting section at Dollar Tree, as well as 1 fuzzy microfiber dusting cloth or mop head cover. And then you'll want to grab scissors and cut that microfiber cloth into sections. So this can get really messy if you're not careful. So you want to kind of follow the natural dividing sections and cut the cloth into 4 strips. And then from there, you're just going to hot glue away. Just start by hot gluing to the outer edge of the ring. A silicone fingertip protector might be helpful. And then once you've got the outer ring covered, then start adding more hot glue and folding over the edges. The whole point is just to cover as much of that wood as possible. And then I also added a second strip of that microfiber cloth to the larger ring as well. You'll see here that this 2 pieces don't completely cover the ring, but that's fine. You're going to leave that for now and go ahead and add another section and then a piece of a section so that you have the smaller ring completely covered. So for this, I was able to finish this whole wreath with 1 mop head dusting cloth. Because then, once that smaller ring is completely covered, if you layer it over top of the larger ring, it covers that unfinished section on the larger ring. I just grabbed some floral wire then, wrapped it around a few times, and twisted it in the back to secure the 2 rings together, and that formed the snowman's body. And then from there, just embellish. I ordered this, it's like a greenery ribbon. It looks like leaves, but it's made out of like ribbon material. I ordered it on Amazon. I think it's really fun. I layered that with some black and white check ribbon and made another classic bow, just 2 bunny ears, and then you tie them in the center. And that formed a little bow to put at the snowman's neck. And then I also made a hat using a paint stick. So a regular old paint stir stick, as well as some miter shears. And you'll cut that. It takes a few scores to cut all the way through because paint sticks are a bit thicker. But cut 3 pieces. So 2 that are the exact same length to form the top hat, and then 1 section that is a bit longer to form the brim. Then from there, you can take that scrap section of handle and hot glue that to the back of the hat to kind of hold everything together, and you have that classic top hat shape there. And then paint everything with black chalk paint. So a 1-inch flat paintbrush and kind of a dry brush technique so that some of that wood grain pokes through, but I was also very careful to paint all the edges of the hat as well so that it looked more finished. And then from there, wrap the top hat with another little bit of that greenery ribbon, and then hot glue everything in place and you're in business. But here's my little snowman winter wreath. This is a bit smaller than a regular wreath, so I don't think it would be great for a front door, but for somewhere else in your house, I think it'd be a super cute addition. So there you have it. Here are my 3 finished snowman crafts. I do hope you enjoyed watching these projects come together. Until next time, happy making.